Well, here we are back again, another episode to get to know your wedding pro. Long time in the making here on the side. I destroyed my microphone. We have Corey Boehler here out of Oregon. We do a lot of Seattle, we do some Spokane, but kind of all the Pacific Northwest here. Get to know your wedding pro, Corey, with Bridge City Parking. Corey, how are you doing, sir?
I'm excellent. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So first off, just I always kind of like elevator pitch. What are you guys? What do you do? What are you all about?
Yeah, we are an event valet and parking management company. We not only do we specialize in events, but we also do long-term contracts as well. We've had contracts with hotels, boutique, furniture stores, restaurants, and the like. But really, it started with the idea of how can we make special events better. Started in 2012, kind of born out of desperation. I had been over 10 years in parking management, and the company I worked for just decided to file for bankruptcy. And they said, hey, you're no longer going to accept a paycheck. So I said, well, if that's the case, I better try to figure it out on my own. And so that's what I did with the help of a business partner. We set out and formed Bridge City Parking and steadily increased our sales and business every year. And it's just been phenomenal. We made it through, the 2010, 2012 recession. We made it through the pandemic. So I really attribute that to the team that I've built and the structure that really lays the foundation of my core values.
Well, I like that. And I like how, because we get a lot of different stories on here and people, starting their own business or deciding to do that. Yours, it was out of necessity. It was, well, here, you're not going to have an option, right? Did that really light a fire under your butt, so to speak?
Kind of. I had toyed around with the idea of branching on my own for a while, but it really hadn't kicked off because it's a little bit scary going on your own. You don't have that safety net underneath you, but I had been in the industry for so long. I knew operations like the back of my hand. There were still a few things that I needed to dial in, but I figured I would go with what I know and learn as I went. And 2024, we're still alive and kicking.
I know. I don't think it's a surprise to say here, event parking and event kind of all this stuff, not really the sexiest thing in the world, right? How do you view kind of your role? Because we get all sorts of, creatives on here and, we've had accountants on here and jewelry makers and jewelers, all sorts of different stuff. Like, how do you view kind of your role in the wedding and event industry?
Yeah, so my approach really goes back to the time where I started my career in hospitality right out of college. Got my degree, didn't know what I wanted to do, but I figured I wanted to get into some type of management, and I kind of fell into hospitality. So I spent about 4 years managing hotels, and then when I made the transition to parking, I found that a lot of those skill sets translated and transferred into a different field. People come in, they stay a little brief period of time, and then they leave. But the key takeaway is that experience. And I really wanted to set up my company as a customer service company that parks cars. And so when I talk to clients and when I explain what I do, a lot of them may have experience using parking before, some of them may not. But what I want to educate them is I'm there for their benefit. I want to make sure that whatever event they have, that they have all the options are laid out. I give them recommendations, and this goes with any new venues that might come up. But I give them a free consultation and just help them troubleshoot so that they can in turn give their clients the best possible experience. And that's really what I'm aiming for, is how can I make my company be part of someone's experience, whether it's a wedding, celebration of life, whatever. That's really my goal, is how can I do it in an affordable way, hopefully, but also what are the options laid out for them. And a lot of that depends on the venue, whether it's commercial, private, what we have to work with. And I really try to explain to them how we can achieve this and make their guests feel like they're walking into something special. Because truth be told, we will be the first people they see when they arrive, and generally the last people they interact with when they leave. So it's very important for us to set that goal and set the bar high enough so that they really deem us as part of the system or better.
I like that. I like that. Now, I talk about kind of the necessity to have this because we have to deal with this, and obviously, I'll come down to Portland and Oregon and do some weddings. We primarily work in Seattle, but just the need to be able to have and be able to park and logistics, all these
Mhm.
kind of different cars and people. Like, what is the need? Talk about kind of in the demos that you serve down there, and just kind of the venues, whatever that necessitates your need to have this service.
So whenever anybody calls me, and this can be for people in the Seattle market, people down here, first and foremost, whenever they approach me or any parking company, it's really good to ask a lot of the questions. Are we insured? Yes. Um, what information do you need so that you can formulate a proposal that's easily legible that I can read and understand? And is it open to adjustments? Some people are afraid that, oh, there's a proposal, it's kind of set in stone. Um, I always try to let people know that, you know what, this is a format based on the information you're giving me. If that information changes, or if maybe something didn't quite click right, or some new information comes up, we can change that. We just want to make sure that the end result is translates into a good experience for your guests, so that you don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to worry, oh, are the people getting blocked in? Are the guests being attended to? That's why they hire professionals.
You talking about wanting to have the high level of hospitality and service. I guess how does that dictate when you're looking for men and women, boys, girls, whoever, to kind of to work for the company? Because it's got to be kind of a high standard, then, right? You're looking for your employees.
Yeah, so I know a lot of companies, parking companies in general, will look for someone with either, a background in parking or some type of driving experience. That's great. I do look for that as well, but I'd rather find somebody with a strong customer service background, hospitality, restaurants, that sort of catering, that sort of background, because as long as they have that, they have a good clean driving record, they can, you know, figure out how to park a car from A to B. We can train them on the finer things like how to drive a Tesla, how to drive a Rivian, how to drive this exotic car. Those things we can teach them, but it's much harder to teach them about the customer service, which really is a soft skill, something that someone should have, and it comes to them naturally. I really don't want to have somebody on the team who struggles with that or is constantly slipping in the customer service end, because that's the part that people will focus on most.
In terms of where you guys work, like you said, venues, private residences, things like that as well.
Yeah, so whenever somebody contacts me, I always ask them, is this a commercial venue or private residence? And if it's been a commercial venue, most of the time I've already worked there, which is
Yeah.
great. If not, I'll automatically want to do a site visit, just because it's something that I know I'll probably come up with again. Private residents are a little bit different. Generally, I try to do a site visit as well, but they are a little bit trickier just because every commercial, or excuse me, every private venue, house, apartment, condo, whatever, is going to have its own unique set of challenges. And that's where I really feel like my style shines, because I ask the questions. I have the experience to know the pitfalls, and I can recommend certain directions versus, let's just go ahead and do it and then come up short, because that's the last thing I want to do is set up the expectation and fail. And it's it's not something that's a comfortable conversation to have. Absolutely.
Well, no, because I was coming home. I had a gig the other day, and I was coming home, and you could tell that there was some sort of large event at a house, and Seattle, and it's all these windy
Mhm.
streets and stuff. And I could tell just driving by. Okay, they had people kind of facilitating and getting the car, because you couldn't imagine having 100 people trying to show up and get all these, have everyone try to do this stuff on their own. And that made me think about it as well. Knowing this was coming up, I'm like, oh, they like that must be they must have had to hire someone to help facilitate that, because otherwise it just would have been a nightmare. I couldn't imagine, and the neighbors and complaints and kind of everything else.
Maybe without knowing more about it, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
It could have been a situation where most of the guests have been there before, so they kind of already know the plan. Um, Sometimes it's just a matter of having some parking directors out, just guiding people in and showing them where they can or cannot park. Those we always do, and it's always fun to just interact with people in that regards. a lot of times I'll have people ask me about valet, and then talking to them about their event, they may just need a couple of parking directors, or they
Yep.
may need shuttle service in lieu of valet, just because the scope of the work just does not lend itself to a valet service. And it's been more often than not that that's been the case. And it's not that I'm trying to not get their business. It's I want to win their trust. I want to win their confidence that I know what I'm talking about. I've done this before, and I can foresee the pitfalls and the challenges that a valet service might have versus something else.
So it's fair to say that you guys can kind of up or downsize depending on the need and offer kind of those various services in between.
Absolutely. That's why I ask a lot of the questions. How late is it going to go? What are the neighbors, interactions going to be like? And there's going to be a myriad of questions that will play into the event and what we will need. One of the things that I try to steer away from is the ballpark quotes. It kind of, I get that cringe, like, ooh, a ballpark, really? Because that's pretty vague. And once you give a number out there, then people are locked into that number. So I really just try to get that nailed down as much as possible.
It's tough. I get that too. And it's, someone will call and they're like, hey, we got a thing, or I need this edited. It's like whatever you tell them that in that moment, like that is the price it's going to be forever. And like you said, the scope could change. It could be a totally different thing. But it's like, well, no, that's what you told me on the phone. You're like, yeah. That's why I'm always like, let's sit down, let's get a consult, let's get an email thing. Cause that phone, that knee jerk phone, whatever, like that, they'll hold you to that. That's more, sacred than any contract written in anything. Right.
Well, exactly. And if the parameters begin changing dramatically throughout the conversation, then they'll lose the confidence in you. Like, oh, does he know what he's talking about?
Yep.
Is he getting it? Does he understand? And you really want to try to nail it right out of the gate.
So if I'm someone planning an event, if let's say I'm a couple, and what are some things that I should know, information that I need to bring to you to kind of help facilitate that process? Because I want to get into more about like you and kind of getting into this, field of work, but I want to make sure we touch on this. Like, what should I know? What do you need to know? What things should I have written down if I'm trying to get this going?
Absolutely. And this goes for any parking company, whether it's local in Seattle or me down here. But one of the first things that really want to know is, what's the date? I've had some people just,
Uh,
oh, it could be this day, it could be that day. Well, I'm a business. I need to lock this in. We're coming into the busy season. I need to know date and times. If you give me a time parameter of, say, 4 to 8, okay, great. That gives me a time of, is that the time you expect guests to arrive, or is that the time that you expect cars to arrive? Because those are two different things. Cars could mean, if it's a wedding and your ceremony is at 4 o'clock, well, there's always going to be early birds. There's always going to be people that arrive early, and we want to try to capture those so that we're not scrambling to catch up when we do arrive. Likewise, the end time. I have, after some trial and error, put in a clause that allows us to add on additional cost if our contractual time it becomes extended.
yeah.
And that's just a safety net for myself and my crew, because I try to take care of my crew as much as possible. So dates, times, and how many people. And a lot of times I'll also ask, what type of event? Is it a wedding? Is it a corporate event? Because that'll generally tell me how many people per car we should expect. If it's a social event, generally it'll be 2 people per car, roughly. If it's more of a corporate event, lawyers coming in for a VIP roundtable, it'll generally be 1 person per car. And then we talk about rideshare, carpooling, that sort of thing, and we try to account for that. But sometimes it doesn't always work out. Those are generally the basics, and from there I can ask the questions like, well, where are we going to stage the vehicles? Is it going to be from an on-street situation, or are they going to be off the street? Do we have to reserve on-street parking from the city? But those are the questions that are very specific to that event. But generally, the dates, the times, how many people, those are the first 3 questions. But yeah, most competent parking companies that have been around should ask the questions that will allow them to get a proposal right out the gate and answer 99% of the questions that will come up.
So in terms of you kind of getting into this, I know you said you were working for another company and all that. How did you kind of get involved in all this to begin? What did you want to study or go to school for? What was kind of your background?
You know, I've got a couple of anecdotes about that, but if I had known in college what I'm going to end up doing, I probably wouldn't have bothered going through all 4 years, but
Yeah.
I am glad I did. So as I mentioned, I started in hospitality, and after about 4 years, I really got burnt out. It was a time where a lot of hotels were being bought up by other larger corporations. I wanted to do something different. So I threw my resume out and I got an interview with the parking company that at the time had the contract for the Portland International Airport. So I interviewed, eventually got the job. And then after the 90-day review, I had a sit down with my boss at the time. And we had he kind of let me in on the inside joke. He said, when we were interviewing you, Corey, it was between you and another gentleman. And during the last round of interviews, the other candidate leaned forward and said, by the way, I should let you know before you do the background check, I just got out of prison for killing my stepfather. So the running joke was it was down between me and an ex-murderer.
Oh my Oh my God.
So, whoo, yeah, slid that one under the belt. But yeah, I really, I just fell in love with it. As strange as it sounds, I mean, who thinks about parking? But I really found that my personality fit, the skill sets that I could bring to the table fit, and I've really just embraced it. After a year in Portland, I was transferred and promoted to a contract in Sacramento. Did that for about 4 years. Came back, tried to do something else, just didn't stick. So I came back into parking, and I've been here ever since. So it's been a great ride.
In terms of I mean, now it's been a long time of you owning your own business, right, and kind of running it. But what are some challenges? Because part of this podcast too is just kind of like education for everyone about
Mhm.
running. We have new vendors, old vendors. Like, uh, I would imagine logistics of the employees, kind of dealing with all of that stuff. Maybe one of the most challenging parts. What would you say is the biggest kind of learning curve that you encountered coming in to do this yourself?
My strength coming into it was operations. I really knew operations back, forth, blindfold, up and down. The hardest part for me was grasping the owner aspect. As an owner operator, we're wearing many hats, but shifting into that owner aspect of, do I have all the right certification? Do I have the right type of insurance? Um, am I filing the right taxes? Everything under the sun that you want to protect yourself as a small business. That was a bit of a learning curve. I really had to spend a good year or two fine tuning the process. I managed to find myself a really great accountant um, who helped guide me, but really it was just finding online resources, figuring out how I can navigate the sea of bureaucracy. um, but once that settled and once everything kind of got familiar, then I really doubled down on the operations. And one of the key elements that I focused on, even from the very beginning, was take care of my staff. I know for some people who's just a one-man crew, that's great. They can take care of themselves. But for a lot of people, they have a staff, small or large. And I found that through my management experience and working for other companies, that you develop a team. They understand how you work. They understand what the expectation is. It becomes so much easier, not only for retention, but it becomes so much easier to have that high level of expectation that you expect. And so now, because I'm a bit of a control freak, and I try to attend every single event that I book. But quite often, end of the month is an example. I've got 4 events happening all at the same time. And one of the larger events takes me out to Bend, which means there are other events I have to bring on my supervising staff for. And they're great. They've been with me for a long time. And I really want to make sure that they have that expectation, which they do. But at the end of the day, I touch base with them. They give me reports, and I take care of them, either with food, money, whatever it takes. And speaking of, it's a huge incentive that I found to, especially when we do long events, to feed them. Hot days, have a cooler full of water and Gatorade, have snacks on board, make sure that their needs are met. Those little things go a long way. And they've really reflected that in very low turnover. We haven't had a single claim since I've started, which is a phenomenal for this industry. But as much as I'd like to say, oh yeah, it's me, it's the training, it's the people, it's really just taking care of those people, and in return, they will take care of you.
We were, well, I guess first off, do you find, like you said, talking a little bit about your control freakness, which I co-sign as well here, like, is it hard to kind of hand off that responsibility, right? Because I'm now, and I've gotten rid of all my teams. I'm a one man, and because I just couldn't deal with all that stuff. Like, is it hard to kind of hand that off and be able to put at trust in other people?
At first, it was one person that I have that's been with me almost from day one. Um, he has another full-time job that he does, but he's also a leader in his industry, which is another hospitality industry. So given the background that he has, and given the fact that he's been with me for such a long time, he's proven himself. And I have 99.9% confidence that he will do a great job and knock it out of the park every single time. For people that are newer that I'm trying to develop, it's a little bit different, a little more hand holding, a little bit more confidence building. So those are the ones that I usually give the smaller events to, or the ones that have a lower impact. So if they stay with me for some time, I give them more responsibility. I have no doubt that they're going to shine as well. So yes, it's nerve wracking, but at the same time, I need to learn to let go and breathe and allow other people to grow and develop, because that's the only way I can grow and develop.
We were just filming a conference here a couple weeks ago, and they had a keynote, and it was talking a lot about um, kind of attracting younger people to the workforce, right? Just with like the millennials and kind of all that stuff, and then also building culture and kind of retaining employees, right? And this is not even related to, but just kind of brought up in our conversation here. It seems like you were able to really foster that and build, like you said, keep retention and keep employees. Like, what do you attribute that to? Because it seemed like it was important enough for all these people to come have a keynote where these people were talking about it. And it feels like you kind of have a good handle on that. So I'm just curious, kind of, do you notice that nowadays trying to get new employees or retain, or how does that kind of work? Because it seems like you got a good handle.
Yeah, so it's a multi-pronged approach. I don't really subscribe to the notion of, oh, this generation's lazy or that generation doesn't know what's going on. There are a lot of diamonds in the rough, and more so, there are people that really want to prove themselves. And I'm speaking from my own, little bubble here. Um, but first and foremost, because I'm there and I set the example, I have no tolerance really for goof offs, for people that think they can get away with something. It's just not tolerated, and everybody on my team knows that, and everybody reports to me and keeps everybody else in line. But by and large, I want to have fun. I don't want a job where I get there and I really dread doing it, and that's part of, I think, what attracts a lot of people, young and old, uh, to what I do, is because when we do an event, I lay out the framework and they follow it. And then when there's downtime, we I spend that time getting to know them. We chit chat about what's going on in their life, and make sure that we have each other's back and support. And then there's also a chance for us to talk about the cars that we drive, and some cars that are trickier than others, or what have you, or the event that we have. And again, a lot of events we have, there's food provided by the client, so that's a huge motivator as well. But yeah, it's really just the culture that I foster, and if I'm having fun, I want to make sure that they're having fun, and I always make it known that if it's not working out for them, or if they've got something going on that's not preventing them to have the time to do what it is I'm asking them, there's no harm in just saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just, pass on future events. It's been great. But, I'm going to go ahead and move in a different direction. And that's fine by me. More just, I want them to succeed in their own personal endeavors as well. So it's just making sure that people are happy, making sure that people are doing their job, and having just, as high level of expectation as I can possibly have on people that without sacrificing the joy of driving fancy cars and meeting people and having a good time with each other. That's really the basis of what I think what makes ours successful.
Any kind of, before I let you go here, any kind of funny stories about exotic cars or parking or anything? Hopefully nothing too bad, but I'm just curious. Any sort of funny anecdotes on that side, and if not, that's okay too.
Oh man, I'm
I'm sure
sure
you
that
get a good. I'm sure you get a good variety of cool things now. You get to get behind the wheel of, and people get to right. It's got to
you know
be exciting.
it's kind of funny, and this will probably go with anybody in the parking industry. I've done some events where someone will pull up in a very low mid-range priced car, and they're like, give me the eyeball, and they're really leery about handing
Yeah,
it to the valet. And I'm like, we've got a Bentley out back. This thing costs more than my house. I don't think we're going to damage your car.
yeah,
But it's really funny because um, I always try to tell people, look, you can usually tell who the truly wealthy people are versus the wannabes. And a lot of it comes down to attitude, not the car they drive, but it's the attitude. We treat everybody with respect and kindness, and every car, we treat like they're gold. But, I had one event where a guy pulled up in a brand new Rolls Royce. I mean, this thing was easily 6, 7 figures. And he handed me the fob and slipped me a 20 and said, keep it close. And so I got into it, moved ahead 6 feet and parked it. Things like that. We try to take a little extra careful, but it was just more, I want to keep an eye on it.
yeah.
We weren't in the greatest neighborhood, and I just wanted to make sure that nobody was tampering with it. But by and large, we have fun. We do drive a lot of exotic cars. We drive everyday cars as well. But every car we get behind the wheel, we're taking our time. We're doing everything right. And I told them, I said, tell my crew, I'd rather spend an extra minute, 2 minutes parking a car safely than spending 20 minutes filling out paperwork and explaining to that customer, something happened to your car. That's never
Absolutely.
a good conversation. Fortunately, knock on wood, I won't have to. So, yeah.
Well, Corey, yeah, this has been fun. Anything else you want to make sure? I got your website up here and at bridgecityparking.com. Anything else you want to make sure we touch on today before we get you out of here?
No, I just, make sure that anybody who even isn't sure about whether or not their event is going to require parking, don't be afraid to call around and ask, because the professionals, at least professionals that I work with, won't try to sell you their business. They'll tell you if you do need it or not, or what kind of a business you need, and ask you the right questions. It's really the goal that I have, is to make sure that, hey, if you have an event that you really don't need parking, I'll give you some pointers on how to make it successful on your own. If not, we'll certainly give you an idea of how we can approach that and try to keep you within the budget.
Well, Corey, back and forth here with our schedules, but I appreciate it. We finally got this locked down, Corey, with Bridge City Parking down in Oregon. Check them out. Appreciate it. If you are interested in coming on the podcast as a wedding vendor, like I said, all over the Pacific Northwest, bestmadevideos.com/podcast guest. It's a nice, easy questionnaire. Corey, I appreciate it. Good luck here in the busy season, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Reed. Thank you for your time.